Hello guys, how are you all? May you always be given health and good luck. On this occasion I will tell you the plot of the movie titled Tai Chi Master 1993. This movie tells the story of the friendship of two children who grew up in the Shaolin monastery, namely Guanbu and Tianbu. But one day, the two of them got into trouble, and in the end they both had to be expelled from the Shaolin temple. And when the two of them were outside Shaolin, they both found a very bad system of government, which was to oppress the little people. And differences in beliefs, therefore Tianbu, who was hungry for property and power, he preferred to join the government, while Guanbu he chose to join the rebels. And what about the continuation of the story? Okay, just go straight to the storyline. The story begins when Master Jun Yuan brings a new student named Tianbo. Then Master Yuan introduces Tianbo to his senior named Guanbo. But Tianbo is reluctant to call Guanbu as his senior because Tianbo is taller and bigger than Guanbo. He wanted to address Guanbu as a senior only when in front of his teacher. The two of them begin to get along and always live together, but once there is an older student who annoys them both, so they both go to Master Yuan to be taught Kung Fu in order to win in the fight. But Master Yuan is reluctant to teach them Kung Fu because Kung Fu is only used for good. Tianbo, who still holds a grudge against his senior, he also takes revenge, but their actions were discovered by Mr. Yin, who made them both have to be punished. Mr. Yuan, who felt sorry for them, then pretended to scold and beat them both, which is actually Yuan was giving them both bread. The days have passed, and without feeling that now they are adults, one day Master Yin held a Kung Fu competition to find the 4 best candidates to go to a higher level. In the first match of Tianbo against Simbo, a Shaolin students who since childhood always intimidated him, and they quarreled. Since the beginning of the match Tianbo looks so easy to beat Simbo, but Simbo cheats by sprinkling pepper powder into Tianbo's eyes. However, Tianbo was still able to defeat Simbo and then defeat him all out, because the actions committed by Tianbo made Master Yin angry, and Tianbo Yang felt cheated, which he did not accept. Then Tianbo challenged Master Yin to a fight with him. And in the end there was a quarrel between students and teachers. In the fight, a distraught Bo accidentally uses the Buddha's hand imprint punch technique, which he imitated while Master Yin was practicing the technique. Master Yin Yang knew that. He got more and more angry, then ordered other Shaolin disciples to arrest the boy. Gangbo Yang since childhood was friends with Tianbo. He did not stay silent and helped Tianbo fight other Shaolin disciples, and the two fight against Shaolin disciple members. And in the middle of the fight, Master Yuan appeared to protect the two of them and told him to get out of the temple immediately. While outside the temple, Guanbu and Tianbo apologized to Master Yuan and regret their actions, but they have both been expelled from the Shaolin temple. Then Master Yuan told the two of them to go to the outside world and learn from life there. Master Yuan, who was worried about Tianbo because of his aggressive nature, then Master Yuan gave the holy book to Tianbo, who would give peace in the form of the teachings contained in it. And after that the two of them directly left the Shaolin temple. Then they both left the Shaolin temple and stopped in the city because they were hungry. Then they both tried to find food by begging their dot, and they both saw a woman named Su Lin who was looking for her husband. On the other side there was a thug who beat up a street vendor who damaged his merchandise. And luckily there was a woman named Miss Li. Yang helps her by stealing money from the thug. Then Miss Li gives the money to the merchant dot, but the thugs find out that Miss Li has stolen her money and they immediately attack Miss Li. Guanbo, who sees the incident, he is immediately moved to help her, while Tianbu he protects Miss Li because he immediately falls in love at first sight. With Guanbu's martial arts skills, he was able to easily defeat the thugs, but as a result of the commotion, the government forces found out, and the three of them finally escaped, and disguised themselves as Kaiden. A little later, a procession of officials came carrying Governor Lu Jin, who was known to be very cruel and had no conscience. Tianbo, who saw Governor Lu, he imagined himself as a powerful government official. Then Miss Li took her to a restaurant to have dinner with her, and Su Lin was also there, drinking and thinking about her long-lost husband. and it turned out that the husband Sulin was looking for was already the husband of Governor Lu's sister, and her husband does not want it. So Su Lin went to see her husband in disappointment and returned the harp he had given her as a wedding gift. But when Simulink was about to go out, the woman suddenly threw Sulin's musical instrument, which angered him, and in the end the two of them had a fight. After the fight was over, then Sulin's husband drove Sulin away by hitting S's head with a wood until Lin fainted. Guanbu, who witnessed the incident, he was upset and immediately beat the guards to help Sulin. Because the situation was getting chaotic and more troops were coming, finally they all fled and hid in the restaurant until it was safe. A few years later the two of them returned to the restaurant, and it turned out that the owner of this restaurant was Miss Li's friend. Then Tianbu and Guanbu saw the poster of the fugitive thief they saw while in the restaurant. For the sake of earning money, the two of them made a show. Whoever paid a penny could hit 1 time, and if it hurt, the money would be returned 3 times. And at that time there were people who tried to pay 50 cents, but because it didn't work, the person then paid very much and directly ganged up on the two of them, and they were happy because they got a lot of money without paying. But in the midst of their excitement, then came a government representative named Hechun. He is the right hand of Governor Lu. He asked for tax money of 150 cents to Guanbu and Tinbo, who are trying to find a face, proudly giving their hard work money so that the two of them are accepted as soldiers. Then Hechun gives Tinbo the condition to beat himself up, and after that will be accepted as a soldier, and Bo immediately does it happily, and in the end Tianbo is accepted as a government soldier. Then Tianbu invites Guanbu to come with him, but Guanbu refuses Tianbo's invitation and chooses roughing it, and finally the friendship they have built since childhood has to part with their respective life goals due to differences in beliefs. In the evening when Guanbu returned to the restaurant, she saw Sulin, who drank so much liquor that she was drunk from being hurt by her husband's treatment. Guanbu, who has a high sense of caring, then she tries to calm him down in various ways so that Sulin can accept his fate. The next day when they were all having lunch, they were approached by government troops whose purpose was none other than to collect tax money to the merchants. There was a quarrel because they claimed to have paid taxes before, but because of the government's greed they all had to pay double taxes. Guanbu, who was trying to negotiate, they even treated Guanbu harshly and even forced Guanbu to kneel while eating the food they stepped on. Sulin, who could no longer stand the treatment of the soldiers, then he fought them and there was a fight there. Then Miss Li told to close all the doors and windows so as not to attract the attention of many people. And in the end they also managed to disable all the soldiers, but after all the soldiers were defeated there was one person who managed to escape. Then Guanbu immediately chased the soldier to the border camp where they were, but before the soldier arrived at the camp, he was blocked by Tianbo, who was waiting for him. Then Tianbo killed the soldier, and Guanbu was happy because his friend was still willing to help him when he was in trouble. Then the two of them talk, and Tianbo invites Guanbu to join him as a soldier, but Guanbu still refuses Tianbo's invitation, even though he wants his life back as before. But Tianbu tells his best friend Guabo to see a better future, and did not associate with the rebels. The next day Governor Lu held a fight to see the prowess of the soldiers who were there, and Tianbo, who wanted a higher position, he tried to show his skills in front of Governor Lu, and the prowess of Tianbao was unquestionable, even he could easily defeat one by one soldier. After that Tianbao went to the restaurant, and told his friends that the place had been known by the government as the hideout of the rebels, for which Tianbu warned them to immediately flee the place. But soon the government soldiers had arrived at the place and arrested the owner of the restaurant, then they killed him cruelly. After that Guanbu and his friends made a plan to attack the governor's camp with help from within Tianbao. The next day they gathered at a predetermined place and immediately tried to approach the governor's camp in the direction of Tianbao. But after being close to the camp, it turned out that the soldiers already knew of their arrival in advance, and immediately surrounded Guanbu with their friends, and they had no other choice but to fight the soldiers. And there was a great battle where most of the rebels were killed by being outnumbered. In the end only Guanbu and some other rebels survived, but Sulin and Miss Li were arrested for the sacrifices and betrayals that had been committed by Tianbu. For his success in killing the rebels, Governor Liu appointed Tianbao to be an army lieutenant, and not only Governor Li was interested in Tianbu's prowess and asked Tianbao to invite him and become a government soldier. As for Guanbu, she couldn't believe that her childhood friend had the heart to betray her, which left Guanbu devastated. That night Miss Li Yong was left alive because Tianbao loved her, and Bo tried to seduce Miss Li to have sex with him, but she refused Tianbu's invitation even though he forced her. Miss Li Yong tried to resist, then Tianbo beat her to death when Governor Liu arrived, because he did not want his reputation to be ruined in the eyes of Governor Liu. The next day Tianbo took Sulin as a prisoner, and persuaded Guanbu to come to his rescue, and a few hours later Guanbu came to free Sulin, who had been captured by Tianbu. Then Tianbu invited Guanbu to join him as a government soldier, but Guanbu still refused, because their talks were deadlocked and differences in beliefs. Finally they both fought with the movement they had mastered. It is undeniable that during his time in the Shaolin Temple, Tianbao's kung fu was always on top of Guanbu, and it was also Tianbao's ambition to be the greatest among the other Shaolin disciples that made Tianbu even harder to defeat. Tianbu continued to urge Guanbu to surrender and join him as an army, but Tianbu still refused Tianbu's invitation despite being urged, because Guanbu tried to protect Sulin while fighting with Tianbao, and they fought all the way to the top of a wooden pole, where Sulin was tied on top of it, which caused the pile to fall, and Sulin was able to be freed from the rope that tied his hands. Then Sulin immediately distanced Guanbu from Tianbu's attack, and in the end Guanbu survived with Sulin's help. After the fight, Sulin took Guanbu to his friend's residence on the outskirts of the village to treat his severe injuries caused by Tianbu's sword, but the mental injuries he received were severe enough to cause Guanbu to experience mental depression and go a little crazy. From day to day his attitude gets worse, but luckily his best friend Sulin patiently helps take care of Guanbu to get out of his depression. While Tianbu was obsessed with his power, he trained the soldiers in a very cruel way that caused many casualties. He Chunyang saw that. He was going to report it to Governor Liu, but when Hekin was going to meet Governor Liu, Tianbao first killed him. One day Sulin took Guanbu for a walk. There Jumbo saw a plant growing on a dead tree trunk, and a farmer who was very happy, because he had just received the news that his son had been born. Because of his joy, then the man left the firewood and immediately ran to his son. That's what makes Bo understand that to move forward he must take off the burden on his shoulders. After that Jumbo opened the holy book that his teacher gave to Tianbu. Then he studied and understood the meaning contained in the holy scriptures. Day by day passes, until one day he comes to understand and realize that there is a different style in the surrounding nature, namely Tai Chi. The book teaches to avoid murder, but use your best at every opportunity. Get together, but don't use force. Air currents must be in harmony with the universe. There is no desire, no lust, no root movement, no pitted dust, only in a natural way. It's called Tai Chi. Breathe like the wind of the universe. Keep the center of gravity and take advantage of the power of the attacker. A spinning ball repels other objects it touches, but still stands firm and solid. Even in movement, there is always silence. No matter how hard I push, water reflects it back. The stronger you are, the stronger your opponent. I can't even beat calm water. I finally understood what was natural. Everything is in nature. On the other hand, Tianbo was more and more brutal. He killed everyone who hid Junbao's whereabouts, until one day two people came to see Guanbu and told him that Tianbao was looking for him so brutally that he killed one of the family members. Then they suggest that Guanbu leave the village immediately, before Tianbu finds her, but he prefers to stop Tianbao's brutality from straying too far. The next day, while the governor was on his way to Beijing to meet the emperor, Guanbu and Su Lin intercepted the convoy. And defeated the soldiers escorting her, as well as Guanbu easily crippled her sister who had taken Su Lin's husband. Meanwhile Su Lin he fought with Governor Liu, and in the end Su Lin also managed to knock out Governor Liu. After that the two of them went to the army camp to meet Tianbao, taking Governor Liu as his prisoner. Initially Guanbu tried to stop Tianbao without violence, but Tianbao, who did not give up easily, then immediately attacked Guanbu. Guanbu, who had now mastered the Tai Chi style, easily offset the resistance from Tianbu. Actually Tianbu also realized that he had no chance to defeat Guanbu, but he was already overcome by anger and greed that made him keep trying to fight Guanbu. Even he ordered the army to help him, but the army at that time could not help him, because Governor Liu Yang is still a hostage. Tianbo, who considered Governor Liu to be his handbitan, Tianbo immediately killed Governor Liu. And the soldiers who saw the incident turned to support Guanbu from Tianbu, and made room for them to fight. Tianbao now had no other choice but to surrender, but he still tried to fight Guanbu, even though he knew that Guanbu was superior in every way. And in the end, Tianbo was killed after his body landed on the spear of his own soldiers, the soldiers who had no command at that time. Then they surrendered and released Guanbu and Su Lin. After the fight, Jumbo and Su Lin finally decide to separate, as Guanbu wants to hand over the ashes of his best friend Tianbo to his teacher, and at the end of the film, Guanbu teaches Tai Chi movements to Shaolin students. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.